Hi, everybody. My name is Charlie Velasquez. This is Talking Florida Rugby occasionally. Today, season 4, episode 62. I'm here with my man, Michael Gomez, who is, I want to say this, a coach, a player, a referee, officer, and you just need to have a podcast, Mike. And then that would be a bingo.
Yeah, I think people like hearing me talk enough.
I'm not sure about that. Okay.
Yeah, they don't need to hear me anymore.
Tom Champa is in Mexico, so that's why he's not here. Not sure what he's doing. I hope he's okay and come back. We miss you, Mike. And today we're gonna cover a few things. We're gonna have somebody from the Miami Sharks to get to know them, and this is the coach of strengthening and conditioning, if I'm doing that correctly. Description, Fernando Levy. We're going to just go quickly over the playoff scenarios of some of the divisions that everything's going to be decided this weekend, some in very dramatic fashion. And then we're going to go to our main topic, which is how do we make rugby better in Florida? So, with no further ado, I'm going to bring in Fernando Levy. Hello, Fernando. How you doing?
Hey, guys. How's it going? Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming, for taking some time. So tell us quickly a little bit about your rugby background.
So, I played rugby in school back in Argentina. Then I played some club rugby as well up until the age of 26 when I moved to the UK to pursue my studies in sports science. And I've always, been related to rugby. I had friends playing pro rugby and, it's always been part of my life. And then, my studies took me to Wales, where I was involved in Cardiff Blues, and then to Australia, the Waratahs, Rugby Sevens, and now Miami Sharks.
I'm trying to guess where your accent is, but I can see it's like you picked it up a little bit of every place.
Yeah,
Fernando sounds like he could be an extra on Ted Lasso.
Yeah, I could definitely be an extra in Ted Lasso. Hey, what not main character? Why an extra?
Oh, sorry.
Come on, So Fernando, and tell us about your experience as a strengthening coach around the world, because you've been in some serious environments.
Yeah, maybe some serious and some not so serious. Well, I've been fortunate enough to be around different sports in different countries, and I think the most interesting thing about that is just learning about sport cultures and getting to know people from different walks of life, and that's very rich. That's what I find the most fascinating, because at the end is the people who matter the most, is the people who keep the ball rolling. So a bit of everywhere. I remember when I started, my goal was to get experience in the big scenarios, which I consider were the UK, America, the USA, of course, and Australia, New Zealand, where the sport was big. When I've been around there, so I can say I've done well, I guess.
How did this opportunity to come to the Miami Sharks come by?
Well, there's a lot of people that I know from Miami Sharks from back in my days at the Argentinian Union. We've never actually worked together. It was just we're all in different teams. But at the Union, at the High Performance Center, you go, you meet every day. You exchange a couple of ideas, maybe just a good mornings, and I always had very good references, especially personal, from everyone involved in the project. So when the phone call came in, I was very excited to see what this was all about. I didn't know much about the MLR, but I had very high standards for all North American sport, from all USA sport. So it was a very unique challenge to start a project from scratch in a very competitive environment that I know is very ambitious, foreseeing the World Cup here in 2031.
Yeah.
Professionally, have you always worked with rugby, or have you diversified into other sports?
No, actually, my last job was in what you call soccer. I was in football in England. Before that, I was in rugby sevens, which some people argue is a different sport. I kind of agree, especially on my side of things. In preparation, it might be a rugby pitch, might have the same ball, pass backwards, run forward, but physically and technically it's very different. And then involved in club rugby back home, I think is always very important to stay in touch with amateur roots, because that's where the love and the essence of the sport is born. And then I've coached field hockey. I've had some experience in junior Australian football while being in Australia, and I think, or maybe I'm forgetting one or two things, but yeah, if it has a ball, then I'm up for it.
Was it you that make Moneta run so fast?
I think it was his parents. Like, I think from the start, like, dad met mum. I don't know who made the first move, but a couple of years later he was born, and the good genes were there. And then I was just happened to be one of the guys tagging along in his way, and maybe I just gave him a tool or two, but he always had the potential,
You helped maximize his fast twitch muscle capability.
You'd have to ask him. Like, I don't want to play, a bigger role that I probably had, but yeah, he was okay. He was okay. He's still okay. He's still improving. Yeah, so okay. Yeah, he came out of the program pretty quickly. Pretty quick. He's still in the program. He didn't come out of the program. But yeah, I can say I put my little brick in that big wall of success.
So, what is a typical week in your job with the Miami Sharks?
Well, I think typical is a very relative word, but let's say we play Saturday to Saturday. The guys usually have the next day off after the game, and then it's depending on availability of time and how the boys are feeling. But usually we have sort of like an intro day where they come back, maybe they're feeling just a bit sore from the game, so we might do a light gym session, a light fuel session. Next day is a intermediate step, bridging the gap between that intro day and the hard day, coming on day number 3. And we work our weights and our activation, our speed drills, a bit of conditioning around what's the most important thing that we deem is the most important thing related to the game. So they might get an extra day off in the middle of the week, probably a Thursday, and then come back together to do a captain's run just the day before the game, and then ready to go.
You're not in charge of the injuries, right? In getting them better after the injuries.
No. We have different responsibilities within the staff. So, what we deem injured, someone that can't train, is not available, it needs to be, managed throughout the week. That's different people, in charge of the medical. And then, we sort of work as a group to try and see what the team activities are and what the group activities are, and see if that person can, jump in and out, or if they need like something completely different, depending on the how severe the incident is. Maybe it's just a bruise, maybe it's just something a bit longer, short term, long term. So it's all managed between different members of the staff.
Because it does seem that we've had a fairly large amount of injuries already after week 5.
Nolte, Kubeli.
I don't know if it's a normal percentage, but
as I understand, it's pretty standard. If you look around, we've had a couple of knocks in the head, which is really like, can't really do much about that. There's no exercise you can prescribe to prevent that.
Unless make the heads harder, right?
Yeah, we'll just wrap around in like some kind of styrofoam or something, and then see what happens. It's quite an unforgiving league. It's quite gritty. It's tough. So maybe I think we've been unlucky with a couple of those things, but the important thing is to keep pushing forward and keep going. We're playing rugby. It's a contact sport, so things are meant to happen. If we were, to go across the season without getting any niggles, I just say like there's something really weird going on. But I have nothing to compare it to. It's my first season, and I don't know much about the other teams. But
okay, we're just gonna, while we look at the highlights, how did you live this game? I mean, you're not part of the actual coaching stuff, but you're a member of the team, so you must have lived this with a lot of intensity, as we all did. It was a great game, first 60 minutes, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's just, I think being Latin American, I'm just going to attribute it to that. When you get committed to a group of people, you get committed to a project, and you get to be on the sideline, it's impossible not to live it with intensity, the adrenaline, and like the effort and all the work we put in, all the work you see the boys putting in every week. The things you leave on the side, the things we've all left maybe on the side just to be here, and just want things to go well. And I think the boys put in a very good effort. Unfortunately, didn't go away, but it was very close.
Yeah, I mean, I think the season is going, despite what are we, 4-1 right now?
Yeah.
But they have been all tight games, and defensively, I think we've done great, and I can see the team sort of getting that chemistry together, as we see there with that awesome try by Echeverry.
Yeah, I guess the margins have been very, very small, and it's the nature of sport. Like, results really do much of the talking, but if you go into the detail like we do, and we watch the games, and I get to watch the games next day when the emotions are a bit low, I've calmed down, and if you start like doing a checklist of one or two things that maybe could have gone our way, like a weird bounce or a different call, then realize those margins maybe disappear. Instead of being 1-4, maybe you're like 2-3 or 3-2, and then the question is, does that really marginally change the process or the way you're working? So sometimes you might not do the things the right way and win, and that makes you think you're on the right track, and results make you hesitate a bit, but I do believe we're on the right track, and I think the team has still a bit to show.
Oh, yeah, sure. I agree with you with that. I mean, I think the success could be seen in the bonus points, right? Like, you guys are absolutely crushing it in that column. It's always good to walk away with a point with a loss, right? Because good teams get better as the season goes on, and no one's going to come through the season without injuries. So I think those bonus points can mean all the difference when we're talking week 14. I have a question not related to the Sharks, but going back to your diverse background, like, what do you think? What do you think most amateur clubs are missing when it comes towards strength and conditioning, or maybe even, what do you think is a common practice in amateur clubs that is probably not the best thing to be doing?
I think it's balancing what you think an elite program should look like, but also understanding what other stuff the guys have to do during the day. Because if we look at each department as a silo, and I'm thinking as S&C, and I'm thinking people are gonna come to the club, and they're gonna say, oh, look what this guy's doing, is like super complex, super fancy and whatnot, but I'm not really maximizing what the guys can do. Maybe that's a miss. So trying to leave the ego a bit on the side, and just cater for your players. If they're working and studying and doing everything every day and get exhausted with practice, just keep it simple, try to make sure they improve, put good habits in place, because most of the time they'll spend their way from you. So it's more like instead of give a man a fish, give him a fishing rod, that kind of thing. Teach him how to fish, give him a fishing rod. I think I butchered that saying, but do you know what I meant?
No, 100%.
Teach them how to take care of themselves. I think it's about education. It's not about showing what the S&C knows. It's about being able to teach and being able to help others. At least that's how I see it.
So, last question, Fernando. Where's your mate? Come on, man.
I just came back from the gym, so I'm just like, no, it's too hot for that. Miami's too hot for that.
It's never too hot for a mate. Come on.
You must Fernando, surely you know the benefits of caffeine.
Yeah, well, I don't think I'm allowed to have caffeine. I'm just pretty intense as it is. I'm only mellow right now because I just, worked out just to calm down. Yeah.
So, okay. So I guess that was Charlie's last question. My last question, you're good. For the rest of your life, you can only do 5 exercises in the gym. What are you doing?
Come on. It just goes against like the question I answered from amateur rugby.
Right. So, how about this? 5 exercises everyone should be doing that they might not be doing
inside the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll probably say for athletes and for rugby players, it's most important what you can do in the field to be able to move properly. And I kind of like realized this during COVID, because I had players that only had a place to run, and players that had low weights, and the ones that struggled to get to sport the most were the ones that couldn't run for a while. So that's the most important thing. So maybe that's the message. Keep the main thing. The main thing, your skill will make you a better rugby player, not your bench press. Yes, you need the muscles. Yeah, you need the strength for the collisions. But at the end of the day, if you look top rugby, it's the skills and the physicality is pretty matched up. But not to dodge your question, I'd say I don't even do 5, mate. I'm past the 5 exercises. At my age, I just probably do 3 or 4, and then I'm done. I guess I'll do the basics. I'll chin, I'll squat, I'll RDL. I'll do some kind of pushing. My shoulder's a bit, clicky, so I don't bench press anymore. But and some kind of throws, some throws for a bit of core, just to get some explosion going.
Nice. I like that. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I know I look young, but I'm past 30, so.
Hey, I'm past 40.
Oh, you could have fooled me, man. I'm ready. I was ready to sign you up for some college classes.
No, I'm long over that for that one.
Okay, Fernando, very nice talking to you. Thank you for taking the time. Best of luck this next game against the Free Jacks.
Ooh, tough one.
Yeah, tough one. Well,
man,
it was my pleasure, guys.
They're all tough. And listen, you've already played pretty much most of the toughest.
That close one with Houston, man. Houston's coming out of a cannon at the beginning of this year, so that's awesome.
People in sport love an underdog story, right? Let's see. Yeah. Let's hope it's this weekend for us. It's the headline for next week. Thanks for having me, and I'll see you around the Shark Tank. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Oh man,
41? No way.
You look 41, Mike.
All right, Charlie. You look 80, man. Come on.
I know. I'm only 52. So listen, okay. I am fortunate to be here in Miami, so I get to go to all the games, which you unfortunately cannot. And
hey, I'm trying to get down there in the summer, right? Go see my mom, go see a Sharks game, maybe one more than the other.
But I highly recommend everybody to try to get to the games because it's a really nice experience all around. Not only the rugby, but before and after. It's really a good experience. So before we move into our main topic, we just want to go over the playoff scenarios. Let's go through every division. Let me put on screen. So this is, I just got FCC. Okay. So you're involved in this one as a coach of FSU. We do have St. Thomas, which has clinched number 1 for sure. And then the other 4 teams that follow all have a chance, right?
Yeah, everyone through you, 2 through 5 is completely liquid until this weekend. UF and FSU could end up dropping down to 5th place and miss the playoffs and go to that relegation match. So this is quite a weekend to watch. And they're all live streamed, so everyone can watch.
Those are the games. UCF against UF, just coming back from a defeat against St. Thomas, FAU against UNF, and FSU against USF. Yeah. Everything is
two rematches of the state finals last year.
2? Oh, yeah. Why? Oh, yeah, true.
Hanford St. Thomas was the D2 championship last year, and FSU USF.
That's funny. Okay. Men D2. We have the Tridents that are number 1 and Hammerheads number 2, and then the 3 and 4 are going to be decided between the Pelicans, Tampa, and Palm Beach. These are the games that are going to happen this weekend. So that's also an interesting scenario. Men D3 has already been set. We have Brevard hosting Sarasota and Jacksonville hosting Daytona. So it's just so weird not to see Palm Beach in D3. Sometimes I'm looking for Palm Beach and I go to D3 and say, they're not here. No, I forgot. And then the women D2 is already set also. Tampa and Fort Miami this year. Tampa maybe not so dominant as other years. They've had not close games, but not so
Closer
blowouts,
games.
closer games. So we might have a interesting final there. I guess the ladies from Fort Miami are going to be very motivated. And the college women's D1 is also set. This is only 3 teams
UF is advancing to their
competing.
regionals.
Yeah,
in Arizona. Not sure how that's
Arizona
a region. Yeah, I'm not sure how that's a region that a Florida team is assigned to. Might as well be nationals going that far.
Oh man, college, I don't know. It's so complicated. We'll have to just devote one program just to understand it. I'm not gonna get into women D2 because it's been, some of these teams have some of these teams have forfeited a lot of games.
Yeah, between the two D2 colleges, men's D2 and women's D2, there are 3 matches on the books.
Okay, well,
our Seaside has played more this year.
Okay, and finally, the U19s, the youth has had a sort of big break, like 3 weeks of not playing because of the. Sorry, what? Oh no, sorry, I got the wrong one. This is. So there's 7 teams. Everybody goes to a playoff. Okapi is leading. They're gonna have a
bye.
A bye. We just have these few games left, and it's also up for grabs to see who's going to get the home advantage, because these 3 teams here, Jacksonville, Key Biscayne, and Tampa, are all pretty close. So we'll see. And that's pretty much it, I think. Am I missing somebody?
I don't think so.
I don't want to get any hate mail later. Okay.
You will no matter what.
No, I typically do not. Okay, so let's try to get into the big topic. I sort of had this. This is something that I'm on a regular basis thinking about, how to make rugby better overall, and I thought it was a good idea just to throw it out and see what, just bring up ideas. I want this to be a positive approach. Like, let's talk about things we can make better. The ones that are not good, we probably all already know which ones they are. So let's sort of focus on the positive side. I did get a few messages from social media, and so we talked a little bit earlier about how to get this approach the topic, and it's really sort of hard because there's so many things. But and I just want to, let me put in here the link. The intention of this podcast, and maybe we do a second one, because once you get talking into there you have the link at the bottom, rugbyfl.com/join. Anybody wants to come in for a couple of minutes and bring their ideas, you are more than welcome. We have one guest waiting there, Ross. We'll get to you in a little bit. So, Mike, Ross Galbraith. Now, Ross Davenport, he's not a friend of the podcast anymore.
Oh.
Okay, so let's start somewhere, Mike. We were talking earlier, what are the main underlying things that we need to improve or pay attention? And we were talking about 2 or 3 things. One that came up very strongly is administration. Administration is something that it's a lot of things that go into administration. The other topic was that is sort of related is planning in advance, and one of the other was money, fundraising. So let's start with administration and why is it such an important thing that can change things. I'm going to let you start.
So I think all three things you just mentioned kind of fall under the umbrella of organization. And if anyone's had a conversation with me recently, I've been spewing this one line constantly, and it's mostly for the coaches, right? Who are these figureheads of the team? In a perfect world, yes, we have a coach and then we have a director, but unfortunately, most clubs and teams are often lucky to just get one person who has the passion and the time commitment to commit. Um, so my line is, for coaches is tactics are for amateurs, logistics are for professionals. We're not going to get better because some coach figures out some way to revolutionize a way to organize forwards on the pitch. No, we're gonna, we're gonna get better when coaches know who's available a week out in advance. When coaches know what functional roles all players can fill, and I think also going along the lines of coaches and players, I think we need to start having a mindset shift if we want to grow the game of rugby, right? Because right now we have a lot of great, passionate players who are only focused on that playing, and their main goal is to win. Which, hey, like, who doesn't like winning, right? But that can't be the number one goal, right? It can't be to win this year. You want your club to be successful after you die. And it's sad that we're having people outlive clubs. Um, so I think yeah, like I think coaches need to be much more organized, and they need to be communicating way much, like at least one email once a week minimum. The fact that players don't know who they're playing until a week out, that they don't know their schedule, they don't know travel plans, that's unacceptable, right? And I think just increasing the organization is only going to create a better product, right? Because when everyone's on the same page and then everyone's moving in the same direction, now people know, oh, hey, like, this is where we're going at this time. Like, I can help out by bringing this, and that's how you get more people, right? You don't assign roles. You just, like, people got to recognize what's got to get picked up, and do that. And if you focus on making a better product, not just winning, then I think that's when you have long-term success, and long-term success creates an inviting environment, and people want to be a part of that.
Yeah. Okay. We were also talking earlier about which is sort of related, the club and the team thing. Okay, we have in Florida mostly teams, a team playing rugby. We don't have clubs. And what I mean by clubs is something that goes beyond one team. It's an organization that somehow is identified by maybe the place where it is, or maybe where the founders came from, or it can be whatever. It's going to be mostly about the location, but that sort of starts it. And I think one of the difference when we talk about club mentality is a, it's always going to be more than a team. Okay.
Mescon
So
Club.
sorry.
That's FC Barcelona's tagline. Mescon Club.
Okay. I mean, and at the same time, we also sort of have to, because, like, I'm from Uruguay, from South America. It's a totally different structure when it comes to rugby, and we have to adapt ourselves, to the United States, where one of the main thing that is a big difference is this college division that breaks up the continuity the continuity between high schools and seniors. There's like a sort of a gap there. That doesn't happen in other places, but it is what it is. Still, when you get into a club mentality, that means you necessarily have to be sort of looking a little beyond your team that season, that one season. You're looking at, as a club, what you can do to make your club bigger and better, and maybe more diverse, in the sense of getting more teams into the club. uh, Everything is more work, of course. That may be one of the reasons that many teams, just in that structure that can hear talking about the clubhouses. Many teams, and I lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
Talking about focusing on the team,
Yeah,
the club in the long run.
You're just, if you're a team, that's all it is. If you're club mentality, you want to, and you sort of have to have your short-term plan this season, but you have to have your plan for the next 2 seasons, and a long-term plan. What is it you want to accomplish? Because one of the things, especially for us South Americans, and of course people from Europe and other rugby playing countries, is the lack of what was Ken mentioning there about the clubhouse. You sort of don't belong to anywhere. There's no place for you to go. Like, that is my club.
Yeah, sure, and I hear it, but like,
and now let me
okay.
just finish. And we have more. If you go and look the foundation of any D2 or D, or most of D3, a lot of D3 teams, these are teams that have been around for 50 years. So it's not like, oh, they haven't had time. They have had time. So of course, if you want to, and I know it's hard, but if you don't have a plan or something to look forward to, because you can say, okay, we want to have a clubhouse. That means a pitch or a couple of fields somewhere that are ours. You may look, you may have a 5-year plan, or a 10-year plan, whatever. But you have to have a plan, because that's where you're going. And I think one of the things that is sort of keeping us sort of in the same place always is, this is, oh, let's look at the season, okay, and then it's over. The next season we'll just see what we're going to do.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. You got to have a plan. You got to be organized. But speaking to Ken's point, like land in Florida is not getting any cheaper.
I know.
Like, why don't we have clubhouses? Well, because those clubs that were founded 50 years ago didn't think 20 years in advance 30 years ago. And that's fine, right? Like, we can adapt, we can move forward. But that having a physical location, like, I mean, look at the trend in terms of economics and retail. Like, brick and mortar stores are going away. People can sell things anywhere. And it's kind of like the same thing with your club. You can sell your club anywhere. I think rugby teams, in order to become clubs, they need to become a viable third place, right? Like, everyone's going to go to work, everyone's going to go home. They need to have a third place to be. And if you don't have a clubhouse, just find a bar that can have you there, right? Find someone who's got a house with a nice outdoor area that you guys can just all hang out in. These are problems that we can easily overcome. And if we just stare at it and say, "Oh, this is a problem, we're never going to get over it," then we're never going anywhere. But making a rugby club a third place to be, I think is very important, right? Like, people need to have that sense of belonging. That's what's going to keep them coming. That's what's going to make them want to invest their time and money, because that's what we're asking for when we ask people to play rugby. Yes, we're asking you to go and put your body on the line, but at the end of the day, it's your time and money that you're giving up. And yeah, it's on the clubs, man. Like, get a good relationship with the Parks and Rec department. Find a place that isn't used and sign a 20-year lease with them. There's too many ways that we can overcome a problem, that we don't need to settle on the traditional solution, right? Like, this is America, right? Like we are dealt the cards that we have, and we're not just going to find a bunch of fields. We're not going to be able to build a rugby dedicated clubhouse, but that doesn't mean that we can't occupy that niche in just a different way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get one of the callers who have dialed in. Let's get with Ross now. Ready, Ross?
Caller number one, you're on the air.
Hi, how are you doing?
Not too bad, Charlie. Michael, how are you guys?
Great. Good. Always great when we can talk rugby.
Thank you very much for tuning in.
Not at all.
So,
and exactly what you guys are talking about, I think it literally is Sarasota Rugby Club, which I am a coach of, is one of the only clubs historically have had our own field, and unfortunately that has come to an end for us, and I think that is what is going to lead to longevity in Florida Rugby, is more clubs having their own field, more clubs having their own roots in the ground. For us, it's a complete realization of what should have been more concrete and what wasn't. And I think me personally, I think longevity, Florida has it. Michael, you said Florida land is extremely expensive. If we mobilize rugby teams as charities and we ask people to donate, there's plenty of rich people in Florida that have land that they want to get off their tax bill. There's things that we can do to create love for rugby in this area. And I think if we get clubhouses and places where people want to spend their time, I think that's the future. And that's what we got to chase, instead of chasing what the past was and parks and rec and changing on the side of the field.
Ross,
we've got to push
tell us briefly, how was it that you guys managed to get that field and access to the clubhouse? Just so people know, because you guys did it at some point.
Yeah, we did it. It was before my time. I've been here in Sarasota for 16, 17 years, but involved with the rugby club for the last 8. I was in professional rugby before I moved over here. I was involved with Ulster back in Ireland, and when I got over here, Di Morgan was a huge influence with Sarasota Rugby. Gary Jones obviously is a massive influence and still is, but those guys were the guys that built Sarasota Rugby, not me. I just grabbed onto the coattails at the end of it. But they got involved with Sarasota Cricket Club. We got part of the land, agreed in a, I want to say gentleman's agreement, but it turns out it wasn't so gentlemanly. But we got involved in that agreement. We had space. We've had our own field, and unfortunately, we lost our last game, so we have to go on the road for a playoff, which sucks. Like, we should be doing that at home, but life is life.
Well, you would still have to go on the road, no matter if you had or not the field, right?
Well, if we had won that game, we'd have got another game at home at our home.
Oh,
field.
yeah, for sure.
So
okay.
we were still, June 1 is when we're done at the field, but that's really what more clubs need to aspire for, is to get their own roots in the ground, get their own field, their own posts in the ground. We don't have to keep putting posts up and taking posts down.
Oh,
that's what's going to make rugby grow.
And maybe here's an idea also, talking about how expensive land is and how maybe difficult to access, is to, in certain areas, maybe an idea could be for more than one club to get together and look for something like that, a space, a rugby, space for more than one club, because it's so hard that maybe, between 2 or 3 clubs, they can have this common grounds and have, great events there. That's
for sure. I mean, that's really what's been going on with the youth program down with us this season, which is the most disappointing thing about losing our field, is that we've really kicked on with the youth rugby on this side of the state, with St. Pete, with Tampa, ourselves. We've really kicked it on, and that would be something that would be perfect. But in terms of men's club rugby, Florida's a big state, so everywhere's travel. It's very hard to try and find outside of maybe your Miami area where clubs are close enough to share space.
Yeah, of course.
We had our game against Brevard last week. There was a situation where a couple of other teams in D2 had a cancellation because of a county cancellation of a state park or of a county field, and we opened up our field. I mean, we would have loved to have been that hub for rugby in Florida, to really have opened up our own field. That's what we want to see. I mean, that's going to be a very sad day when we have to take the post down at our own field.
Oh my God! Can I have those? Can you give them to me? I'll make good use of them. Yeah, those are some very beautiful posts.
Yeah, we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to see where we can. We'll dig them up. We'll put them somewhere else. It's not the end for us. I believe you shared our rugby club post today. We're actively trying to generate some revenue. We're trying to find a new home, because I honestly think that the more teams that get that home field, that home clubhouse, the place where they can go have a beer, that's what it's all about. I mean, that's really the best part about rugby. And if we build that social mentality, I think rugby will follow in Florida.
So I'm going to tie this into one of the other aspects I think is sort of, underlying for rugby development, which is the money and the fundraising. Okay. So, and how it just seems to me that clubs sort of do pretty okay with getting sponsors for the season, to get the shirts, for the season. They may have a bar that gives them something to, for the socials and stuff like that. But over time, it sort of surprises me that clubs don't keep, like, within, well, I'm saying clubs, and that's, it's always the issue, clubs or teams. Over the years, they don't keep people who have been players or, officers of the club. They don't keep them in the club. And as you said, because there are, you could over time generate, but you have to sort of really put some thought in how to do it and why you're doing it. But you could have a fairly large amount of people who want to see the club doing well and becoming sponsors of the club on a regular basis, and looking to, and especially if you have, these long-term plans or medium-term plans. Okay, yeah, this is what we want to do. We want to, in 3 years, we want to have, a pitch of our own, so they are invested, and at the same time, you have to sort of keep them attached to the club. For example, I think one of the things, every single club should be videotaping their games and putting out highlights and having everybody trying to watch them, keep in touch with all these players, because over the years, any of these clubs of D2 or D3 clubs that have been around for 50 years, they probably have thousands of ex-players all around the country, but they sort of just let them go.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's difficult here in Florida. Actually, you're talking about sponsorships too. My background in professional rugby with Ulster was generating revenue and sponsorships.
Okay.
But that is difficult when you don't have somewhere where you call your home, where someone can brand, where they can put their market in. It's very difficult. In terms of ex-players and keeping them together, I'm only talking about Sarasota, but I know as a coach, it's been extremely, extremely difficult since the onset of COVID in 2020. Where Florida's very transient, and during that time, it became more transient. We lost so many players that the club literally almost disintegrated. It was trying to keep it together by threads, and until we get thing building. I think with the Miami Sharks having a professional team here, having a pathway, hopefully that players in club rugby in D2 and D3 can possibly get a chance. You know, they see that there's an avenue to something else. These are the green shoots of where rugby can grow, and I think if we can keep it growing and we can keep the positivity that there is within it, especially with our youth program, you know, watching different clubs interact and host an event. Doesn't matter where the event is, whether that's with Vicus down in Englewood or with us in Sarasota or with Nick Fraser up in St. Pete. There's been mobilization of young rugby players and parents who are enthused by it, and that's what we've got to really chase. And if we keep pushing that, keep pushing the club angle, the camaraderie, you know, rugby is a battle on the field. It's a blood sport, but at the end of the day, it's a handshake and a hug and a cold beer. That's what it's all about. And if we get everyone in Florida to start pulling in the same direction, the athletes are here. Whether they're expat athletes or they're Floridian American athletes that play different sports, they're here. And it's finding them and channeling them into this sport. And if we see a pathway where we can progress players to, I mean, I have some players in my team that I want to see progress. I want to see them have a go at chasing professionalism, because if they see that, then that forces them to get better and better and better. And if we can keep doing that, and every club does that, then Florida Rugby is going to be in a better place.
For sure. Hey, Ross, I'm going to thank you very much for your time. And
not at all. Thank you for your time.
And good luck on Saturday.
It's next Saturday. We don't have this. We got this week off.
Sorry. Yeah, next Saturday. Go. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Well, good. More time to prepare.
100%.
And maybe give us a surprise, because you're going as the underdogs, right?
We are. I guess we are. Yeah, we got our butts kicked, but such is life. And one last thing, my hometown club in Ireland, City of Armagh Rugby Club, they have the biggest game of their year this weekend. If they beat Cork Con, they stay up in All Ireland 1A, which is the pinnacle of Irish rugby. So fingers crossed for that.
Okay. Good luck with that.
All the best.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'll see you.
You guys have a good one. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ross. Yeah, Ross brought up some great points, and so to something that I've heard of as a good idea, I believe Raul Bessie does this in Orlando, right? But he has what he calls old boys dues, where you know, it's some nominal fee every year, $20 or whatever, maybe, who knows with inflation, but you give them a T-shirt, and it gives them an incentive to keep giving back to the club. And if you pay your dues, you get to call yourself an old boy. Otherwise, you're just an alumni. And that's a way that I think you can keep the hooks in. Another reason why I feel like ex-players, right, or non-playing members aren't sticking around is because we're not creating products, right? If you're a team, if all you can offer is 80 minutes on a Saturday, right? Because, you know, that's why, you know, if I'm 50 years old, I'm not stepping on that pitch. I mean, I might step on that pitch, but but you know, if there's no asalo going on, if there's no activities going on for my family, why am I going to show up? I'm not playing. I don't care.
Yeah, that is something we talked about what goes on game day, the spectacle. That there are so many things to make it better. I'm always surprised. I go a lot, of course, to the Tridents games because my son plays there. So, and I'm always surprised to see where are all the Tridents. You know, I could, and I've talked to them about this in the sense that they could probably have, you know, 100 people showing up
easily. So Miami, they could have 200.
Yeah, and they give a good rugby wise, of course. They're
show.
They give a good show. So, you know, there's something missing that we're not doing, that is not bringing the people, and it's not just having people there just for the sake of having people, but whenever you get people together, you know, people talk, things happen. A lot of things can come out of just getting people there. So I don't know. We have to think about these things and not just sort of dismiss them. And it's not okay to have our premier rugby games with sidelines of 20 or 30 people, where it's not even, you have 30 players on the pitch. You don't even have that amount of people watching sometimes.
Well, the worst part is when they're on the same side as the players. And we have our premier clubs not adhering to tactical zones, right? Like,
okay. We can get into that now with all the details, which are a lot. Let's bring in Ryan Cox here from Jacksonville. He's been waiting patiently. Hi, Ryan. How you doing? Let me put you up there. Your microphone is muted. There you go.
How's it going, gentlemen? Gomez, seeing you a couple days early.
Yeah, right. There we go.
So what's on your mind, Ryan? You guys, of course, happy with your semifinal in a couple of weeks. Had a great season. I have noticed you guys, and I've had you on interviews, and I had you on the podcast sort of recently. Jacksonville is one team that I have noticed like doing things all around to get better. So I don't know what is it you want to talk about? Or you want to brag about?
Yeah, for sure. I think this year for us has been eye-opening in a lot of different ways that I think a lot of other teams can relate to, in the sense of, when we talk about development, I feel like a lot of people look at kind of what you guys were talking about earlier, in the sense of, well, growing from a team to a club, or maybe it's a first-year team and getting better. We are very lucky in Florida to have some grassroots teams that are really trying to push up. But I think one form of development that doesn't get talked about a lot is, for example, Jacksonville, we're in our 52nd year as a club, and we're going through a form of development that, is tough, because we've already had a team. We have a youth program. We have a non-contact program. We're very lucky that there's a lot of rugby going on in Jacksonville with a couple other programs as well. And, I know I've talked to Gomez about this a couple times, that, there's some great resources out in the world, maybe not currently in Florida, but out in the world about, hey, you're a new rugby club. Here's how you kind of keep pushing forward. But for those teams that are, already established and getting bigger, and maybe trying to grow into those club mentalities, or really start to own that club mentality, it's tough. There's a lot of, you don't really know where to go next. And part of that is also because everybody's a little different. How this club in Jacksonville grows is going to be very different than how Tallahassee grows, and very different than how the Pelicans grow in Miami. And but I think the biggest thing that, and I think this is going to make Gomez smile, is, build it and they will come, in the sense of, there's a lot of little things that I think clubs can do that they overlook because they're overwhelmed with trying to administer a team. But little things is like game day fields. Gomez, you just hit it in the head about tech zones. If you can set up a professional looking field, which does not cost a lot of money and just takes a little bit, maybe more time, or 2 or 3 more guys. I mean, if best example is, we're already making plans for prepping our field for that playoff against Daytona. And yeah, we're going to spend an extra $100 on paint. We're going to double line the field so that those lines are as white and as crisp as possible. And, we spent the $75 on extra rope to rope off the tech zones to make sure they're proper, and all those kind of things, where, again, it's an extra $100 here, an extra $75 here, and maybe a little extra reading and measuring, but it goes a long way. Your field looks a lot better. You're playing on a higher quality pitch. We were very lucky to move to a regulation size pitch this year, where the only thing that's out of regulation right now is our uprights, because we've got portable uprights. They have to be in the back. But listen,
let me ask you about that portable thing in the back. There's no way you can put them on the try line with proper protection. I know there are different styles of posts that sort of don't allow that.
Yeah, so we've spoken to a couple of refs about that, because we really wanted to. We even talked about burying the back post, like, just if there any way, and pretty much across the board, we were told that it's a tripping hazard. They're also not meant, it is what it is. But at the same time, we talked you guys talked 5-year plan, a couple minutes ago. That's part of our 5-year plan. We're very lucky. We actually have 2 fields. We have a practice field and we have a separate game field. That we have, a lot of weight to push around there. I'm not going to call them our fields, but, we're pretty well in there with our rec department. And, we're able to make those changes and say, hey, listen, we want to do this, or we want to do that. The Clay County rec department bought us the uprights. We did not spend a dime on those portable uprights. Yeah, exactly. And now they did that, and almost every team in Jacksonville plays all their games there. The Wolverines play there, we play there, the women have played there. It's all our youth program plays there. So I think a big part of it is having that growth plan. But again, there's stuff that you can do now that's pretty close to free that make it, a big difference. And our mentality going into this year was build it and they will come. If we build a professional looking field, if we build a professional looking outfit, we're going to get people that want to be a part of that. And I think that that's shown. We've gotten some amazing expats that have shown up, and we've gotten some guys that I bet otherwise wouldn't have shown up if they didn't see the field that we're playing on and the effort we're making. So I think that there's a lot of things that clubs can do that doesn't cost a lot of money, but it costs some sweat equity. But a lot of that gets lost in kind of the confusion and sometimes chaos of starting a club, or, in Sarasota's case, they're losing their pitch, and that's stressful. I don't even want to think about what I would have to do if I had to try and go find a new home. That stuff's hard. So I think that there's a lot of stuff that gets overlooked through no fault of their own, but some sweat equity can go a long way for clubs to develop. And if they put a professional product out there, people want to be a part of it.
Definitely helps. Do you guys have a scoreboard? That is one game day little piece that I think would help so much, because you go to any game, everybody knows this. After the third try, nobody knows the score. And when you're watching a game, that is, 2 or 3 points, and it's minute 70, nobody knows who's winning.
So as the team that loves to cut it close, the team that, we specialize in last minute games. If you take a look at our record this year, we built a scoreboard. So we actually got some plywood and some chalkboards, and we also instituted a tech table. So we have a second side player that sits at this table, and they not only update the score, but they also update Rugby Explorer for us. So I don't have to worry about doing it, and it's live and it's accurate. And then they also update the website that we use for jacksrfc.com has a live scoring feature. And so there, people are getting push notifications for going on. So that's been a huge game changer. And we're actually looking to take that scoreboard and tech table a little further, where we're about to hopefully next year provide communications for referees, where now we can also start having subs going in there, and it's getting a little closer to being a TMO. So we're really looking to get an actual scoreboard. Unfortunately, we've got other things we want to spend funds on first, like an automatic camera, instead of making some poor second side player film all of our games for us. But yeah, that's definitely on there. And we do have bathrooms. We've gotten really nice built-in bathrooms, which was a really big upgrade for us compared to the last place we used to play. So, but yeah, the scoreboard was there. That was actually after we had a Gainesville game where we were losing the entire game. We were down by 5, and we scored in the last 3 seconds. And for the last 2 minutes, nobody had any idea what the score was. So, my blood pressure just couldn't handle it. So at that point, I was like, screw it. We're spending the $70 on wood and chalkboards to make this happen.
This is one of the things when I'm talking about, the old boys, the people who have been, I cannot believe, you have to sort of know these people, but I'm always, someday I'm always talking about I'm gonna have my own club. Okay. So in that situation, I would just go and find somebody that I know. And this is a no choice. Give me a check, $500. We're gonna build a nice scoreboard. And if you want, we'll put your name down there, okay? Because we're not really talking, give me, $50,000. So many of these old boys have their other, they're doing okay. They have companies, whatever. It's not too much to ask. And you're adding to your game day experience, as you're saying, something that, you're building it. And at some point, it's really awesome. You come to your field. You were talking about spending some money for extra lining. Maybe you can look into these robots that do the lining that are perfect. They're not that expensive, Have somebody, okay, you're going to be you're gonna fund the lining of the field this year, okay? Whatever, and you just name him, whatever, and so over time, now your Jacksonville games are really awesome to go because you also have, as you were saying, you have bathrooms there. You may have some food truck or whatever. You add stuff. You can know who's winning, who's losing, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and that's actually you hit the nail on the head. Actually, how we do our sponsorships in Jacksonville, we offer two different types of sponsorship.
At gunpoint.
No,
okay,
not at gunpoint.
That was what I was talking about.
We're not quite there, but we offer two different types of sponsorship. Where either somebody can be a recurring sponsor, where we offer 3 to 4 different options that come with different versions of branding and different amounts. But then we also have what we call package sponsorships, where, for example, right now we're looking for a medical sponsor, where we're looking for somebody to hand us a $1,500 check, which will get us an AED, a med tent for our athletic trainer. We're very lucky. We have an old boy who is an athlete or who's a physical therapist who covers all of our games for us, getting him outfitted a little bit more. But that comes with hey, listen, you give us this money. This is what you get for the next 3 to 4 years. You only have to pay us once. We look for all kinds of sources there. We look to our old boys. We're very lucky to have a great network of old boys. We try to keep everybody as in touch as possible, whether it's email or carrier pigeon and smoke signal, depending on where and how old. But
you guys have a nice newsletter from Gary.
Yes. Slapshot does a wonderful job keeping everybody informed. But yeah, I agree. I think there's a healthy balance between asking people to donate, asking people to sponsor, and asking people to fund, projects like a scoreboard or like, we're looking for a field sponsor to help us add better padding and better flags and all that kind of stuff. So, the business that I own has started sponsoring to provide better looking material and better experiences. So, I think it takes all kinds when it comes to fundraising. But again, like I said, a little bit of sweat equity too goes a long way. I mean, I think the tech zones are the best looking thing, mostly because now as a coach, I don't have to worry about the players. They're behind a rope on a bench behind me.
And they are required.
You don't have fans just yelling behind your ear.
Also true. Yeah, I love all of our old boys, but some of them can get pretty passionate and also try to coach, which I like to think is my job, but it just goes a long way, the little things. And I think, we've got a lot of clubs in Florida that put in a little bit more sweat equity. And I think Florida Rugby is going to grow from the ground up very quickly.
You think that's going to happen all around the state?
Well, I'll be honest. I hope so. I can't speak for clubs that I'm not a part of, and I can't speak for clubs that I've never played to match. But I think we have a lot of really passionate people, and I do firmly believe that every club has at least one person that wants to see it grow to a level that others don't expect. But I do think it'll come, and I think that there are teams that are leading the charge. I like to think that Jacksonville is trying to help lead the charge. What Sarasota's done with their pitch over the years, I would love to have, a pitch like theirs and be able to practice and play in the same spot with the clubhouse. And, I think that there's a lot of clubs in Florida that are starting to lead the way and showing other clubs what can be done without being super cash rich or without having all this crazy talent. I know for years it was always Miami, right? That Miami is rugby town, Florida. And got great athletes, a lot of expats, a lot of people that were coming that were just plain athletes. And the rest of the state, I mean, Jacksonville's full of Navy guys. They're here for a year and then they leave, and and that was our attitude for a really long time. And I think that attitude shifting, that don't let your either geographical or economic constraints hold you down, and just go for it. We're on 2 news talk shows next week to promote our game, and that wouldn't have happened without just going for it. That wouldn't have happened without just
of course,
putting the pedal to the metal. So I think that again all comes down to sweat equity and just teams not overlooking the little things that are free that can make a difference in that professional appearance.
For sure, Ryan. We have to run. Thank you very much for tuning in. Good luck in that semifinal. Are you guys ready for it? Yeah. What's your prediction?
Well, I'll be able to tell you after Saturday. We'll see how badly Tallahassee beats us up. But I've been telling our guys for the past, ever since that game got rescheduled, that please don't count anybody out. We've got the latest game in D3, but for the playoff, honestly, I think it's going to be really close. The last time we played Daytona, it was a 35-33 loss that was handed to us in the last 2 minutes of the game in very Jacksonville fashion, and I think that this is going to be very similar. There's also nothing to hide. We've played them twice. We know Daytona well, and they know us well. There's nothing we can hide from them, but I will say this, that if Mike Holmes is watching, we do have a trick or two up our sleeve that we'll see how fast he catches on to. So, but we're excited. I think it's going to be a good game.
Okay. The best of lucks, and maybe I'll see you on the 20th.
Excellent. Well, thank you, gentlemen, very much.
Goodbye.
See you on Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay. So we sort of have to wrap this up because we're a little bit over the time. We
do have anybody else in the waiting room?
Yeah, we have somebody. Let me see. I think it's a president of the union. Let's just say we're out of time and avoid him. What do you think, Mike? No, you're not.
Okay. I would be okay with giving him a 3-minute time limit.
Okay, let's bring him in then. Hello, sir, Mr. President. How are you doing?
Guys, I'm all hopped up on Mountain Dew, and I'm excited to be on one of the top 5 podcasts in Florida Rugby. Let's go.
So, what is your comment? What give us one idea of how to make Florida. You're at the top of Florida Rugby.
Well, you're sitting there talking this whole past hour with the vice president of club development, and I was listening. He had tons of great ideas. That sign a 20-year lease. Yeah. The teams that 30 years ago or 20 years ago didn't think 30 years ahead. Boom. There it is. And you're running late. I don't want to keep you too long, but
no, that's fine. That's fine.
And Michael might have an idea because I kind of hinted at it earlier separately. But Charlie, do you know what important event happens in September of this year that's not the AGM?
In September
this year?
No, I have no clue.
All right.
You tell me.
Go out and tell us.
What is it? Gomez doesn't know either.
The 50th anniversary of the FRU?
That's correct.
Really? Wow.
So when Ken is talking about the players don't know him, and I don't know how many former presidents you can name off the top of your head or any other amazing things that have happened beyond 10 years ago. I mean, this seems like our opportunity to celebrate that, bring all those people back to celebrate it together and maybe raise some money. But
I think if you've been forgotten, you could easily buy your own legacy.
Well, I would say that brings to my mind the topic of communication for the unions and for the clubs, that some do better than others, some do really good, some are like, some clubs it's like a mystery, you don't know what they're up to. They even like make big changes, they change coaches, it's not announced. That should be news. I myself try in my social media to bring everybody's social media in this one place. I've been doing that for a while. This is how I notice some of the teams do a great job, some do a really bad job. Some are trying. I think the union does not a very good job of communicating. And I think it's so important, because if you don't show what you're doing, just people tend to think, what are they doing? They don't do anything. I go to all your meetings, I see what you're doing, but I think communication for everybody, for the unions and the clubs, is an important thing. And that's also a way, how I got into rugby here. I just happened to come across a little announcement on Facebook. This was 2009 about, because there was no youth back there. I just happened to come across, I don't know if I searched, but to an announcement of a game, a youth game. It was actually the first ever youth game. That's how I found out. So I just went to that game, and I just met the guys. Everybody's very friendly, of course, in rugby. You're always like part of a family right away. And that's how I got into rugby. I was here for, I don't know, 10 years living here in the States, and just didn't come up, and I just happened to find this. It was nice timing because of the age of my kids. And that's how I started. So, communication overall is something that we have to keep doing. I think the unions have to take it very seriously, because it's like necessary. So just before we as I have you, Rick, let's talk quickly a little bit about the idea of select sides. Are you okay with that, Mike?
Oh man.
Well, it's getting late, fellas. I
mean, we're gonna do maybe a couple of more episodes on just talking about Florida rugby, because there are so many aspects that it would be good to talk about.
I mean, I'll touch on it really quick, because I've seen a lot of comments where people are saying we want more games, we want a season in the fall, all this stuff, and I think that's asinine, right? Like, if you people are asking for more games, and these are the same people that week 4 are saying, well, we would have won that game, but injuries and travel, right? Like, if you're a good team, injuries and travel don't mean anything to you. If there's always going to be a striation in terms of what your team composition is, and there's going to be that small percentage of rugby. I will play all the rugby I can nonstop. That wants to play rugby all year. But that's not everyone, right? We have to cater to the masses. So if you want to be nonstop rugby, then we should be pushing to have regional, I don't want to call them select sides, regional sides where you can get your rugby fix when everyone else wants to take a break and be with their families.
Mike, don't you think we should have a little bit more rugby?
No.
Just overall, you think it's okay the number of games we play
throughout the season? So I will say D3 South, or D3 not North Florida, did get shafted this year, 100%. But I don't think the solution is 10 matches.
Okay.
And I definitely don't think we should, as a union, be regulating people's fall schedules.
No, the clubs have to be on board. I mean, they have to want to play more. I'm just asking. I think
they have to not listen to the one guy that's saying, I want to play more. Because you're always going to have that guy. You're always going to have that handful of guys. We want to be the best. I'm going to put the work in to become an Eagle coach. Please, let's play more. It's like, great. You go do that on your own.
I just think that, for a player to develop, you learn rugby playing rugby, right? I don't know if you agree.
For sure.
Playing, okay. So in some teams go through a whole season and they play 5 games the whole season. So if you have, 20, you should have, normally you have 20, 30 players. How many minutes do some of these players get, throughout this whole season?
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. 5 games is not enough. 5 games is not enough. 12 is probably too many, but those same teams that, you can go on Rugby Explorer and you can look week after week after week. No one is changing their rosters and no one is making substitutions when the game is on the line, right? It's only when they're down or up multiple tries, right? That's obviously, a broad brushstroke. That's not everyone. But yes, people have to play, but people aren't playing because the mindset is on winning this week. And so people are like, oh my God, coaches think, they can't trust a newer player. Unless they're 2, 8, 9, 10, or 15, just put them out there. Just fucking put them out there, right? That's why you have 2 of them. You have 2 locks, 2 centers, 2 flankers, right? Have an older one and a newer one, right? So the minutes are there. I'm not disagreeing with you. 5 matches is too much. 5 matches is way too little. But I mean, I think 8 matches in 12 weeks, that's probably our lower threshold, for our amateur sport. And again, if we offer more if more opportunities are created, then that's where they get their rugby, right? But I think there's many ways that we can accomplish having more rugby. Personally, like, all Florida Day was probably one of my greatest experiences. No, I lied. I had a bunch of great experiences, but it was up there. Like, my freshman year, like, I had fun going to All Florida Day. I think we need to it was located in Tavares, right at the end of the turnpike. It was great location. It was a great time. And I think we can incentivize teams by saying, hey, you will not have access to postseason funds if you don't go to All Florida Day.
Well, that's not very. I don't know.
It's not very what? If you're expecting to travel at the end of April, you better do it in November.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that kind of. I think over these past years we have left the fall to fall. Like, we used to have a fall with much more rugby than we have now. And I agree that clubs have to be wanting to do it. You can't just force people to. But what do you think, Rick? Just sort of quickly, yes or no, more rugby overall?
Yeah, I'm for the select sides. I'm for 7s and the 7 series, and certainly there are teams capable of playing 12 games in a season. If you talk to the old timers who are around in the 70s and 80s, ask them how many games they had in a year. They say 40 or 50. I know
they had rosters of 200 and the roads were paved in gold.
Yes, and it was a wonderful time. But yeah, so 5 is horrible. I mean, our D2 college women, 4 games. So we can certainly do better with all those things. And
I
also,
think we have to really look at the fall,
Yes, we used to have a great Florida Cup, and I want to say that the championships were held in the Orange Bowl many years ago. How cool would that be? Granted, how expensive would that be now? But in the effort of how do we improve Florida rugby, I think all of the coaches and administrators need to listen to Kirk Swanner's podcasts, and maybe again, if they already have. There's just 14 or 15 of them, just full of useful information. It's targeted towards the college people, but it's useful for everybody.
Okay. Yeah, teams in Wales are playing 28 games in a season.
They got nothing else to do.
Professional. Yeah.
No, this is not this is club rugby. In Uruguay, teams play 22 games. It's
with how many club members?
Oh, no. I'm not saying we should do that. What I would say is we should start moving towards playing more rugby. Okay, not less. I think sure. Over the years, it's we have decided for whatever reason to put all the competitive season in the spring, and there's like
great idea. January through April, beautiful time to play rugby. Okay, September, not so much.
But I would say we need to make better use of the fall.
But it's on the clubs. It's on the clubs.
Well, but it's not just. Listen, it's on the clubs, fine. But the union has a role to play there, okay, to incentivize. It's not like whatever. Okay, we're trying to, Of course, the clubs have to be wanting to do this.
Right, I put this idea out that, like, hey, get 3 teams in a region, pick a Saturday. You guys can train together and then just play nonstop 20-minute, 40-minute halves. And I believe I think like Lakeland, Sarasota, Tampa did it. I know Gainesville did it, and great results, right? But like, guess what? On those days, nobody cared about winning. They cared about developing and playing rugby.
Okay, but those little tournaments are great. We just, I think, should have maybe more of them. Like, I didn't see any of that here in South Florida.
Oh, shocker!
I don't know why. And we have some great opportunities here. Listen, we have 4 college teams in Miami-Dade, just in college. So
why aren't they going to the Bahamas to play?
One of the role of the union, I think, is to be looking at this stuff and just facilitating. Okay, bringing ideas. Hey guys, why don't you do this? We'll pay for the referees, whatever. Rick has a ton of money there, and he wants to spend it. So, and Roy Monk is saying there's a plan brewing. Okay, so we'll try to find out what that's about. And gentlemen, maybe we have to close this. Thank you, Mr. President. Looking forward to those finals, April 20th.
IMG, Bradenton. Beautiful. And it's a high school, no alcohol.
Man, you know what? We should change that venue, because that's not fine. Okay.
We should change. Like Ross said earlier, right? Rugby's about a handshake, a hug, and a cold beer. Well, that's not inclusive, right? Rugby is about a handshake and a hug. Alcohol does not need to go alcohol already goes hand in hand with sports. We don't need to force it into our culture.
Hey man, those beers after the games, for some reason, they're the best. I don't know why. Even if you don't play. Maybe next year we have the finals at the Miami Sharks Stadium.
I'm sure they'd be very interested in that.
That would be nice. And have these guys from the North travel.
I'm sure they would not be interested in that.
Okay. Hey, gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you, Rick, for showing up.
Sure. Thank you guys for putting this together.
And we'll see you next week, hopefully. Bye-bye.